Hello, my name is Neil Treganza, and I'm with the Culinary Arts and Hospitality Management Program at American River College. You know, this time of year, my family has always had the tradition of making homemade candy for the holidays. And I think a lot of people are intrigued by the idea of candy making, but are a little bit intimidated by it too. Today, we're going to look at something that's not too difficult. We're looking at homemade peanut brittle. It's at the easier end of the spectrum of candy making, and it's something that most people enjoy. It also ships very, very well. So even though you may not be able to be with some of your friends and family for the holidays, you could make some homemade peanut brittle and send it to them so they have a little part of you with them in their homes. So I hope you'll take a look at this video and give homemade peanut brittle a try. One of the important things about cooking is to have all your ingredients and your tools ready before you even start. It's especially important with candy making because as things get going and you're starting to reach high temperatures, things start to move really, really fast and you don't have time to start looking for a pan or a tool. So you can see here we have all our ingredients set out. One of the things that is different about my recipe than many other recipes is usually you work with raw peanuts. And I actually like to work with cocktail or dry roasted peanuts because I put them in later in the process. I don't have to cook them since they aren't raw. And they also are already salted, and that brings a little extra flavor to the peanut brittle. So we have these are dry roasted peanuts. I usually use cocktail, but that's what was available. We have all of our ingredients. We need our candy thermometers, which I have an instant read here, and I also have an old-fashioned glass mercury thermometer. These glass ones you can find usually at your local grocery stores. I prefer using the instant ones. And you actually can make candy without using a thermometer. There's an old-fashioned method using ice water where you drop your liquid in to see what state it's in. I'm not going to go into that today. You can Google that if you'd like to, but I will be using the instant read thermometer. For candy making and working with sugar, you want to make sure you have a clean and thick bottom stainless steel pot. You can use other pots, but the thick bottom stainless steel helps you get even heat disbursement so you don't burn your sugar as easily. And then once this is all done, we're going to be pouring that out into a half sheet pan. Now, if you don't have a silpat, which is what I have in this pan here, it's a silicone mat that prevents things from sticking. You can actually just grease your half sheet pan with butter and you'll be able to peel your peanut brittle up after that. I have a silpat, so I'm going to use it because it also makes cleaning up a little bit easier. So we're going to get everything into the pot, get it boiling, and then we'll come back. Other tools that you may want to have on hand are the bowl of water for a pastry brush, which we use to wash down the crystals, and then perhaps rubber gloves or 2 forks to help spread and thin out the peanut brittle at the end. So I have all the ingredients in the pot and I've got the heat going. It's kind of on a medium heat. I am currently stirring it to make sure that all that sugar gets melted into the rest of the liquids. And I will continue to stir it until that sugar is completely dissolved. You can see it's kind of thick and opaque looking. I will show you when it's clearer. And we want to be very careful. We don't want to splash any of that sugar up on the sides. We want to just kind of keep it moving slowly so that it doesn't stick and burn on the bottom. But we don't want to get a lot of sugar on the sides of our pans when we're making caramels or brittles or things like that, because those can cause crystals. One of the things I've done is I've got here a bowl of water with a pastry brush in it, which if I start to see crystals form on the pan, I can use that to sort of wash them back in. But if we start off stirring carefully, then we don't get that sugar up on the side of the pan and we won't have to worry about it. Okay, we're about 2 minutes down the road here and you can look at the pot and see, I don't know if it comes across on the camera, but we've got a good heavy boil going on there. Still it's kind of opaque, but I can see that the sugar is completely dissolved around the sides there, at least by my viewpoint. And we are at right now about 255 degrees. Now, needless to say, hopefully, this is really, really hot. And when syrup gets on your skin, it just sticks and burns. So you want to be very, very careful doing all this process. I'm not stirring it right now. What we're doing is boiling off all that water. And we're going to go to about 300 degrees That's a hard crack stage, and if you're looking up on Google how to do this without a candy thermometer, you can look up hard crack, or in the water test, how to reach a hard crack stage. That means that when you put the sugar in the water, it actually cracks, and that's what we're looking for to get that brittle sensation when we make peanut brittle. My boiling's going on for a while. We're gonna get all the way, like I said, to 300. And by the time we get to 300, this white liquid will start turning a nice kind of tan and caramely color. There's two things we want to control. We want to make sure we get to that 300 degrees, and we want to make sure we get the color that we want once we get there. So you can't rush it. You've got to kind of just keep an eye on it. It's simpler than it sounds, but it's also very easy to burn. So we're going to let it go for a while. It's probably going to take about 3 or 4 more minutes to actually get to 300 degrees. I will give you a tip. Once your thermometer reaches 280 degrees, things are going to move really fast. It'll get to 300 a lot faster than you expect. It will kind of hang there for a while, then suddenly it'll go to 300. So don't walk away. Stay close to your candy. It likes the company. You'll see that I've got the glass thermometer in here. It's hard to read when it starts getting steamy. That's one of the reasons I don't like them. Also, when you have the glass thermometer in the pan, you don't want it sitting on the bottom of the pan. You want to actually have it up a little bit, otherwise it's just measuring the temperature of the bottom of your pan. With the Insta-Read thermometer, you can just kind of carefully take it in, stick it in, and kind of swirl it around. Again, not touching the bottom, but making sure that you're in the liquid, getting a sort of an average temperature. It's climbing and climbing. It says it's going to 240 and it's still climbing. Hopefully my two thermometers agree. But we're getting up there to about 250. So we're gonna let that keep going. Again, trying not to form crystals, so we're not gonna stir it. And we'll come back when we're getting close. Actually, while we're waiting, let me talk about the baking soda. So at the end of the process, we're gonna throw these peanuts in right when it starts getting to 300. We're gonna keep stirring. We're gonna stir those in, and we're gonna get it right to that 300 degrees. We're gonna turn the heat off, and we're gonna put the baking soda in. The baking soda reacts with the butter and the syrup, and starts causing air, so it's gonna foam up. So that's one reason we're gonna make sure you use a big enough pan for this, because when it foams up, you don't want it overflowing the pan. I'll show you that process on camera. At least I'll try to, and you'll see how that baking soda reacts and gives us those little air bubbles that are in Brittle that allows you to eat it and not break a tooth on it. So we'll come back in just a moment. Okay, we are back and we are quickly approaching 300 degrees. If you take a look at the caramel that's in here, you can see it's starting to turn color. It's not quite dark enough, but we are at 298. And when we hit 300, we're gonna put those peanuts in and stir them in. And then we're gonna, look, I just hit from 300, it just bounced up to 302. We're gonna put these peanuts in and we're gonna stir those around. And they will actually start to help change the color a little bit. The debris from the peanuts will start toasting a little bit more. We're gonna let that continue to cook and bring it back up to 300 degrees. Because as soon as you put those peanuts in, it cooled down, right? So we are going to bring this back up. Ooh, that's hot. I'm gonna bring that back up to 300 degrees. And we can keep an eye on our candy thermometer here. When you're working with caramels, you've got to consider carry overheating. That means when you turn the heat off, because it's so hot, it's going to continue to cook. So we've got to allow for that, but we want to get this to be the color that we want it to be, and it's not there yet. It's still too pale. But you can see how it's coming back up to a boil. See, that took it down a good 30, 40 degrees when we put those peanuts in. So we're going to bring it back up to that 300 degrees. And while it's coming back up, the proteins. The peanuts are going to toast up a little bit more. All that salt's getting mixed in there. And we're going to end up with a nicer caramel color. You can see, hopefully, in the video that it's already starting to get darker and more of that peanut brittle color. We've got a ways to go yet, though. I'm using my thermometer to stir to keep those peanuts from sticking to the bottom and burning. That's one of the reasons I like to use cooked ones, because with the raw ones, you got to put them in much sooner so they cook. But it's very easy to burn those raw peanuts, and then your whole peanut brittle tastes burnt. Putting the cooked peanuts in and the salted peanuts, the cocktail peanuts or roasted peanuts in later, you do not have to cook them. So therefore you have less chance, as long, you still want to toast them in here, but you end up with less chance of burning. Okay, so I back up to 300 degrees now. You can see I'm starting to get more caramel color in there. I'm going to get rid of my thermometer. I'm going to go ahead and stir this a little bit. Again, keeping those peanuts from burning, but see that we're getting a darker color there. That's what we're looking for. I'm going to let it go just a little bit more, and then we're going to put that baking soda in. See how it's getting some dark stripes in there? That means it's cooking unevenly, which is okay. That's why we're going to give it a little stir now and then, just for these last few minutes, so we don't get those crystals we don't have to worry about so much. We've got all this other stuff in there, and we're right near the end. Okay, see how it's starting to darken up there? Now we're getting that peanut brittle color. And we're just about ready to turn off the heat. Again, keeping in mind it's gonna get darker because it's still cooking in there. I'm gonna give it just a minute more because I like a nice caramely peanut brittle. All right, turning the heat off, and now I'm gonna put the baking soda in, and hopefully you can see the reaction that the baking soda is gonna have. And as I'm stirring that in, I wanna get it well incorporated. You can see that it's starting to foam up there. And my peanut brittle is expanding. As soon as that reaction is hitting, now it's going in my pan. And we're gonna let that spread out. And our goal is to get it to spread as much as possible. Now, this recipe foams up really nicely. There are some recipes do not, and you have to kind of pull it to thin it. Otherwise, when you bite into it, it's gonna break your teeth. But I'm gonna let this go. And we see got that nice color on there. We have nothing burnt on the bottom of our pan. That's important. Got a little bit left there. You can see we're already getting an edge here. And what I can do is use 2 forks to kind of pull that thin. Or as it gets cooler, use a gloved hand, 2 gloved hands to kind of pull it thin. I'm just kind of push that along a little bit. You see I've got a thicker end and a thinner end. So just kind of even that out. And then we're gonna let that cool. And once it's cool, we'll break it up and you've got peanut brittle. So we'll be back and look at the final product. So now we have let the peanut brittle cool. I've actually just broken off some big pieces. One of the things I love about making peanut brittle and serving that at the holidays is it's not about perfect pieces. It's about breaking up some big chunks, small enough so that the picky people in your lives don't take it all, but nice big chunks that you can then put on a plate for people to enjoy, and you don't have to worry about it being just perfect, because whether it's a big piece of peanut brittle or a little piece of peanut brittle, people who like peanut brittle are going to enjoy it. So I hope you have a great holiday season, and make your family some peanut brittle. They'll appreciate it. Take care. Be safe. Thank you.